Good evening. My name is Zach Moward, and I did my research presentation on the legalization and decriminalization of marijuana in the United States of America. So to kind of begin with it, I grew up in Boise, Idaho, a Republican state, and grew up, with parents, church leaders, teachers, all the above telling me that, people who use marijuana tended to, were lazy, they were stoners, which has a bad connotation in and of itself, and that they had no drive or motivation, to succeed in life. And the reason I say this is because in 2014, and I'll get in on this later in my presentation, the state of Oregon, literally 45 minutes from my home, legalized marijuana in full. And in my high school years and my college years now, I've interacted with a lot of people who consume marijuana on some sort of level. It's not everyone, and not saying that everyone does, but a lot of people do. And the people I've seen and I've come to a self-realization that people who do use marijuana don't fit that stereotype, at least not everyone. While there are certainly people that do, of course. So yeah, that's kind of what piqued my interest. The state of Utah has legalized medical marijuana, and there's measures being put in place for that to be put through. So yeah, that's kind of what piqued my interest, is kind of seeing both sides of the fence and wanting to know where it comes from and why it is the way it is. So yeah, what is marijuana? According to the DEA website, it's listed as a Schedule I drug. What this means is, Schedule I drugs are defined as any drug that has with no currently accepted medical use and has a high potential rate for abuse. Other, Schedule I drugs can be heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and I believe, heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. Yeah, drugs, hard drugs. In my opinion and from my experience, you wouldn't necessarily correlate marijuana from those drugs. You see people who are in the streets in large cities, homeless people who are on those drugs and are seriously messed up because of that. It's not necessarily something you see due to marijuana. I kind of put in the difference between legalization and decriminalization. Legalizing the drug itself would allow for the sale and production of marijuana, growing it, and for making it legal to buy it in a store, privately, whatever. It makes that legal. Decriminalizing it is, making it so there's not as heavy fines, jail time, such as that. So that's kind of where it is. Just kind of give us a little background to the terms and definitions there. Going into the history, this has been something that's been happening for close to 100 years now, with this struggle of the decriminalization and illegality of this drug. So it kind of started out, with Harry Anslinger. He's known to be, he used to be the leader of what was formerly known as the Federal Narcotics Bureau, which is the predecessor to the DEA, today's version of that. And essentially, he was known to be racist and push his agenda with his racist intentions, and to put a lot of people away, whether they were people of color, poor, whatever, just those, try to put people like that, correlate them with drugs and throw them in jail. And so that's kind of what brought about this whole thing. And it even got worse when President Nixon was in office. That's when the term was coined, the war on drugs. And one of his domestic policy advisors was John Ellershman. I have a quote here. Essentially, he says and admits that he used his agenda, his power, and knowingly lied to the American public that they were going to associate drugs with certain groups of people. Like, they're going to associate hippies with marijuana, black people with heroin, and vice versa. He specifically wanted to use those drugs to disrupt those communities and throw their leaders into jail. That's kind of what brought all the bad connotations to this drug and other drugs alike, was due to racist intentions. And so moving on, we've progressed as a society where you don't see people like that is in power as often. And most people think of 4 states that have fully legalized marijuana itself. As I said, Oregon, and then California, Washington, and Colorado. There are actually 7 other states that fully legalized it, including as well as the District of Columbia, our nation's capital. And they're also, including those 11 states in that district, there are a total of 33 states in America that have either decriminalized or legalized recreational or medical marijuana in some way, shape, or form. It's a very broad spectrum of where we're at as a nation right now. So yeah, that's just to kind of show where we're at as a country in terms of getting this taken care of. And I specifically want to talk about Oregon and how they have been ever since they legalized marijuana. So in 2014, on one of their ballots, they had a ballot measure called Oregon's Ballot Measure 91, which was the infamous bill that legalized marijuana in full in their state. Since then, their economy has boomed. It's allowed for major job openings, allowing people to grow and sell, distribute, opening dispensaries. And it's allowed for people to go and buy and use it at their own free will. You've seen less incarceration rates, because it's not illegal. Less people are in jail for owning a substance. They also view dispensaries like liquor stores or smoke shops. They tax the product, and it doesn't go straight to the government. It kind of does, but they put it back into the state. 40% of the taxes on marijuana from their dispensaries go straight to their education, K through 12. And so you're seeing excuse me, the growth of their students rising. They're having better facilities, things such as that, and their economy is booming due to more jobs. And America needs to do this, either if they do it like how Oregon does it or other states who have legalized the drug. You can see in all the states, it's not just Oregon, their economies are becoming better, more jobs are opening up, people's ways of life are improving. And if we were to do this as a country on a national level, it would have that same effect, but on a larger level, on a larger scale. We'd be able to improve our nation's economy and our education and things such as that through the use of tax and putting it back to where it should be.